Simo on this. You're our federal government's FOIA ombudsman. If you had any conversation with agencies about implementing proactive disclosure policies, and in that, are there some agencies that are good actors and some you consider bad actors? And I'm asking for real candor on this question. I think you'll find everybody on this panel wants to hear the answer. Microphone on.
Talk. Sorry about that. Thank you for that question, Senator Leahy. Yes, of course, I'm going to be candid. I was sworn in, so I will be, of course, candid. What we're hearing anecdotally from agencies, whether, and I wouldn't say there's a bad agency out there. I think all agencies and FOIA professionals are doing their best to try to meet the demands of what is happening. But we're still hearing anecdotal stories about the fact that they're having technological challenges in making proactive disclosures. And that is actually the basis for our legislative recommendation to examine the tension between Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act and proactive disclosure requirements in FOIA. There's an inherent tension, and agencies are sometimes technologically hamstrung in posting large amounts of data online and making proactive disclosures.
You don't want to specifically go into the good ones and the bad ones?
I'm not aware of any bad ones or good ones at this point, but we're certainly, monitoring and hearing and sharing those stories with you.
Thank you. Senator Grassley.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, folks, for your testimony. I commended the administration for issuing these guidelines, even though it took a long time to get them out. While we were waiting for them to come out, I signed a letter with Representatives Maloney and Comer, as well as Senator Durbin, Leahy, and Cornyn in February, urging the administration to issue them. They're usually issued early in a new administration. Director Talabian, why did it take more than a year for the Department of Justice to issue the guidelines? To me, this says that the administration doesn't see FOIA and transparency as a priority. So is it a priority, and why did it take so long?
Senator Grassley, it certainly is the department's priority, as written in the AG guidelines, to apply the FOIA with a presumption of openness and embrace open government. The department has been steadfast in its commitment to apply the presumption of openness as codified in the FOIA Improvement Act 2016. And in his first full day of this first full week in office, the Attorney General joined us for Sunshine Weeks to provide public remarks to reinforce the importance of FOIA. Under his leadership, we continue to apply and our guidance and our training, and everything that we've done in my office has applied the presumption of openness. And the Attorney General's guidelines within pretty much a year reinforces all of those principles and builds on that work. And not just on focusing on the presumption of openness, but on proactive disclosures, the importance of leadership in the Chief FOIA Officer's role, the Chief FOIA Officer's Council that was implemented by the FOIA Improvement Act of 2016, the importance of training, and much, much more.
Okay. I want to go to the release to one or release to all policy. It seems to me that a release to one, release to all policy would improve FOIA process and reduce the burden of processing FOIA requests. When President Obama was president, he directed agencies to adopt a release to one, release to all policy, but it was never implemented. So to you, Director Talabian, has the Biden administration adopted a similar release to one, release to all policy for FOIA requests that President Obama instructed agencies to adopt? If not, why not?
Thank you, Senator Grassley. The proactive disclosure of records has been a key element of our efforts to promote open government and improve FOIA administration. It is a whole section in the AG's guidelines, not only to just add more requests, post more records, but post them in open formats and so forth. When we conducted a pilot on a release to one, all policy, we engaged in stakeholders both on agency and the public side, and there were some challenges to that. and namely, as my colleague at OGIS acknowledged or identified as well, resources to remediate records to make them accessible under Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act was a significant challenge for some agencies. So we are still encouraging agencies to make proactive disclosures, and some agencies have and are implementing that at a release to one, release to all level. The FOIA Improvement Act of 2016 codified the principle of posting records that have been requested and released 3 or more times, and we are certainly not encouraging agencies. All of our training and guidance is reinforcing that requirement, which in a sense prioritizes the resources for those requests and records that have shown a level of public interest. But certainly we are encouraging proactive disclosures. Our focus on proactive disclosures is significant. We have a whole chapter on proactive disclosures in our Chief FOIA Officer reports. And so we want to continue working towards a time where agencies can have the capacities to get to the point where they can release more and more records on their websites, getting to a release to one, release to all.
See, this question's been asked, so I'll go to GAO. I'm going to a GAO report, but to ask you my last question, Mr. Tabayan. Released earlier this year revealed concerning details about how long agencies are taking to process FOIA requests, and I won't go into those statistics because I gave them in my backlog. But when there's a presumption of openness, why is FOIA requests so complex? Could you explain specifically what makes a request complex?
Certainly, and I will say that in our reports, in our CFR reports, we do ask agencies about the challenges, and this is the most consistent reason, is the increase in the complexity of their requests. Agencies are more and more seeing requests. They're not just asking for 1 or 2 records. That could be multi-part, 15 different types of categories of records or types of records that involve multifaceted searches and complicated searches in records in all different formats. And then these records could be voluminous at times and involve multiple consultations within the departments or with agencies. So these are significant challenges. The requesters, the bar for requesters of what they can ask is not very high, and we want, we're in the service of providing government records and informing the public. But the complexity of the request has certainly increased, and I'm seeing that in my office, and I know agencies have reported in their CFR reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.